All right, August 25th, workout breakdown, leg day. This leg day is on the back end of the lifting leg day that I think kind of rocked people's lower bodies quite pretty hard, including myself, the week prior. So what I really wanted to do was kind of follow suit with some of those lifts, give you a second week in a row to hit some of those lifts, but I wanted to do it wrapped into the monthly emphasis. So I had to be a little bit creative when I was going through this. There was a couple things. I really wanted to do it wrapped into the monthly emphasis, and I wanted to use every piece of aerobic equipment we had, but I also wanted to allow the opportunity to maintain a pretty aggressive output on the aerobic side. And when you combine all those things together, again, I had to get pretty creative on how we can do that, but I think I accomplished it. And I accomplished it through 3-minute EMOMs, 3 rounds, all right? I really wanted to give you guys 3 minutes time of recovery. It just makes class way too long. But 2.5 minute times of recovery at the end. You'll see that in every single one of these. And all these blocks, like I said, for every piece of aerobic equipment, there's 4 blocks, look exactly the same. So you're going to have 3 rounds of 3 minutes to do the aerobic work, transition right into one of those lifts that we'd done prior the week before, at least most of them. So again, you'll see here the run and the front squats. This was actually a piece of one of the Metcons in one of the more recent leg days. I don't think a ton of people, took me up on doing those. But again, the opportunity to blend them together. So it's still a short enough aerobic piece or distance to really turn up the output. And again, it's a long enough chunk of time in 3 minutes to allow you to transition not only aggressively, but also like composed. Like you shouldn't be flying to the squats. And in terms of you shouldn't need to fly to the squats. You should have enough time to hopefully gain your composure on your way to the squats and feel like you have enough time to try to get through those squats, hopefully ideally unbroken. But also, like I said, because it's only 3 rounds and you should have time to recover after each one, you should be able to turn the intensity level up. Now, if I had made these 4 rounds, which was the original idea, I think the intensity level had to come down pretty aggressively. Because that 1 extra round would just be entirely too much. So hopefully found the sweet spot here in terms of output, volume, and your guys' sustainability moving forward. Because you'll see, again, in the next one, you have ski and step overs. Obviously, the gold standard weights are there. And just to be clear, gold standard weights, for anybody that doesn't know this, this is long-term goals. These are expectations. You do not have to do gold standard weights or the gold standard height. We only have 8 boxes anyway, so if there's a situation where maybe you can't get your hands on a 20-inch box, females, or 24 males, and you have to use a bench, easiest answer to that is just increase your weight. So you just increase your weight. At that point, maybe you can increase your reps. Maybe you didn't plan on doing 20 reps, but there's always ways to counter output or weight or height or whatever, just through other decisions. So if you can't get the right height, go up in weight. If you can't find the right weight, but you can go up in height, right? You can always alter your rep count as well. You can always change the distance you're skiing. You can always change how aggressively you transition. You can always change your output on the skier. There's so many ways to alter things that when people are like, I don't have X, or I don't know what to do, you can just change your output a little bit. Adjust it to what you do have available to you. And I assure you that you won't, miss whatever it is that you are missing, right? But again, skier, we're going to work our way down the line. So you're going to see treadmill, skier, bike, rower. And these step overs, I really wanted to put a movement in here that countered the skier. So the skier, if it was front squats, and I'll do the same thing here. Walking lunges coming off the bike or from the treadmill, it's going to make it a lot harder to sustain that output. What I mean by that is running and squats is a really hard combination, right? Running and anything quad dominant, glute dominant is a really, really hard transition. It's the first block, so I was kind of okay with it. I think everybody's really fresh and it's not that big of a deal. But if we kept doing that over and over again, where we're hammering the same group of muscles required, especially for the lift and the aerobic side, you just won't be able to sustain it. So the skier, step overs, polar opposites. We've got the upper body, the lower body. What I'm really excited about is I think the grip strength and the tricep portion of this is kind of a hidden It's gonna be a hidden issue. When you're doing the skier, it blows your triceps up, right? When you're holding dumbbells and you're trying to stabilize through your trunk, and your triceps do a lot of that with the grip strength. And I think that's an area where I'm interested on a personal level, and I'm fairly certain that no members are thinking about that unless you watch this video. So I'm curious to see how that little conversion goes there. The triceps into the holds with, again, more triceps. How brutal it's going to be, obviously dictated by how aggressive you are in the first place. The calories biked, bench hip bridges, same concept. I really wanted to hammer your quads on the aerobic side, which is obviously what the bike and the rower are great for, but then flip the script. So when you get to the bench box hip bridges, obviously posterior chain, whereas the bike is all the anterior side of your body. And again, you guys will have 2.5 minutes here. So these calorie ranges are really, really big. They need to be, unfortunately. I know, some people see this and like, what the hell do I pick? The way I do this is I just clock myself like it's a 3-minute EMOM in my head. I don't want to be on the bike any longer than 2 minutes. So I'll just clock in my head like, all right, if I'm like 70-75% output, what is that for me in 2 minutes? And that's kind of how I'll pick my distance on really all of these, just to be clear. For some of them though, like, if you're capped, you're capped, but 36 calories on a bike 3 times in a row in 9 minutes would be ridiculously hard. So there's a world where I got to bring that down. Maybe I'm only doing 17 in a minute or 16 in a minute, which puts me at 32 or 34. A lot of these are kind of like by the seat of my pants. Like I'll just figure it out as I go. Like if I do round 1 and I do 36, like I'll know, when I finish my hip bridges, like, all right, I can't sustain that. I'll drop down to 34, or, realistically speaking. So you guys can make those decisions as well. A lot of times round 1 tends to be a play test. I think we say that a lot in class. But again, 2.5 minutes is a lot of rest time. So, like I said, originally, I wanted to give you guys 3 minutes. Again, it's just too much time. 2.5 minutes, if you're conditioned enough and your capacity levels, your thresholds are solid, there's a real chance you'll be able to turn over. And I think these 3 rounds gives you an opportunity to really max out all 3 rounds, knowing that you have a full 2.5 minute break. So I'm hoping that plays out, perfectly as I'm talking about it out loud. And then the last one, 3 rounds again, of course, 3 minutes rowing this time. Again, in terms of calculating how far you should row, you've been doing a lot of rowing this month. Like I'm hoping people have a pinpointed, got a little bit more precise understanding of their capabilities and thresholds on the rower, especially like per minute. And same concept, I'll do 2 minutes here. So again, basically if you can row a 2-minute split or less, like you're doing 500 meters. That being said, like, you've got to be able to turn around and then do the walking lunges, which at this point, 4th block, you're going to be pretty fatigued. The pre-exhaustion is going to hit hard, and you got to do 1.5 to 2 shuttles. Again, I think a lot of people kind of sneeze at that extra half shuttle. As we've gone over, especially in the last couple of leg days, a half a shuttle, so rack to rower or vice versa, rower to a rack, and minimum is 5 walking lunges. All right, so that's not like a small amount, right? And most of us can probably do 6 walking lunges. So a half shuttle is 5 or 6 extra reps, and that's a lot in terms of time and recovery, and then obviously just accumulated fatigue over the course of more volume. So don't sneeze at that extra half shuttle. I know some people, I've got comments like, why isn't it just 2? Well, that's why, okay? And again, if you're using the right weight and your output is high enough or correct for you on an individual level, that half shuttle might just save you during this last block. So anyways, I'm excited about this one. It's cool. It wraps in the monthly emphasis flawlessly. And again, I'm hoping this plays out kind of the way I just talked about.